Good morning, everyone. My name is Rowan Willis-Powell, and I am so honored to be here with you today and to share my story with you. I'm joining you from Hyattsville, where I live with my partner and our cat, a devilish orange tabby who rules our apartment. When I'm not promoting behavioral health advocacy in my professional roles, I'm watching murder mystery shows, playing video games, and camping with my friends. Although I live in Prince George's County now, I spent most of my life on the eastern shore of Maryland, where I grew up on a small farm in Caroline County. When I look back at my 27 years of life, I can clearly see the threads that led me to where I am now. I see the impact that trauma had on my life, and that to get to where I am today, I needed to find points of resiliency. And I see that I got here because of the support of my mentors, who taught me about setting goals, saying yes to opportunities, and cheerleading for others to follow their path. Today, I am the project manager of the Transitional Age Youth, or TAY project at Honor Art of Maryland, an organization staffed entirely by people with lived experience in the behavioral health system, also called peers. We are dedicated to educating our community about the reality of recovery from behavioral health challenges, about wellness practices developed by and for people with lived experiences, and we are fierce advocates for choice and care, equity, justice, and autonomy for all people with mental health or substance use needs. As the TAY project manager, I work to support young adult advocates and peers from the ages of 18 to 29, and to advocate for more youth voice in the development and change of service systems at local, state, and federal levels. We run young adult leadership academies where youth connect with others who have had similar experiences, develop their knowledge and skills as advocates for themselves and others, and spark an interest in grassroots community work. Throughout the year, we connect youth with opportunities to use their experiences to change the world by speaking on panels, serving on advisory committees and working groups, and training, supporting, and mentoring other peers. Growing up, this was not the career I had imagined for myself, nor the way that I saw myself engaging with my community. But life doesn't allow us to keep to the neat and tidy paths that we create for ourselves as children. In elementary school, before any of my mental health struggles really started to appear, I declared that I wanted to be a social worker. My mother, the first mentor in my life, was a social worker, and at that point was working in community services and the public schools, including mine. I saw the joy and impact that she had on my classmates, teachers, other staff of the school, and myself. And I wanted to be that spark of joy and comfort for others in the future. When I hit high school, my mental health issues really started to appear. I went from being a gifted student to barely passing my math classes and struggling to focus in the classes that I was interested in. My particular cocktail of ADHD and depression made motivation and focus incredibly difficult. I was better supported than many children, given my mother's professional skills and connections, but that didn't lessen the impacts they had on my life, making the simplest tasks at school and home incredibly difficult. I struggled to have the motivation to get out of bed, let alone to clean my room and write the papers that were assigned in my classes. In high school, after a particularly public traumatic event, my depression consumed me. The person I turned to for support and comfort was my Latin teacher, a woman not known for her displays of empathy. Miss Cunningham was a firm believer of praise being earned. She challenged me not only to push harder in school, but to become a person that was reliable and confident in her abilities. The mentorship that she provided me with was exactly what I needed at that moment in my life. Someone to acknowledge the pain that I was in, but to push me to continue on with life. When I was 15, I was having many thoughts of suicide, primarily passive. And I shared these thoughts with my primary care physician when she asked. This led me to being immediately sent from the waiting room of my doctor's office to the emergency room without a conversation about what I was actually feeling, thinking, or considering. This is a common scenario where adults jump to the most extreme reaction out of concern, but is also fueled by their own fear and discomfort with the topic. For a young person, particularly myself, who's afraid of hospitals, being dragged to wait in an emergency room for hours, to be judged by strangers with the threat of being held in the hospital can feel like a punishment and a trauma. It can mean that the next time they are struggling with thoughts of self-harming behavior, that they won't tell anyone. And that's definitely what it did for me. There are many training programs that can help you as mentors, teachers, coaches, parents, and peers to become more comfortable talking about suicidal ideation and helping a young person make choices about what kind of supports they want and need to use. Especially with the stress of the pandemic, this is a time when everyone needs to be prepared with skills and knowledge about behavioral health crises. Whether you take a youth mental health first aid training, assist, QPR, or some other type of workshop, I encourage you to learn about what you can do to help and what can be unintentionally harmful when youth come to talk to you about their struggles. Please visit our website for more information. In my case, I was able to leave the hospital late that night, largely due to my mother's involvement as a professional social worker. She found me an emergency appointment with a therapist later that week. When I returned to school the next day, Miss Cunningham had been informed by my mother as to what had occurred the night before. She dutifully spoke with all of my teachers, asking them, I assume, to be kind and thoughtful with their interactions with me that day. Though she never said anything to me, I knew that she cared about my well-being. I learned about the role that she played in helping other adults prepare to support me through this time many years after I graduated, when visiting my high school as an advocate to share how school communities can better support students who are struggling with suicidal ideation. Miss Cunningham continually pushed me to achieve more and try harder, especially in any area that I showed talent in. Throughout high school, I was in my school's choir, taking voice lessons for 3 years on top of that. It was at her urging that I auditioned for the regional All-Star Chorus, and upon my acceptance, I heard her tell me how proud she was of me. The experience of earning her praise had stuck with me all my life, leading me to be the headstrong person that I am today. Ms. Cunningham's focus on my strengths and talents helped me learn how to believe in myself, and I appreciated her ability to acknowledge but not obsess or focus on the barriers that were before me. She helped me to overcome those obstacles by helping me stay focused, supported, and hopeful for the goals that I set for myself. I use these lessons in my job today. I put everything into the work that I do. I say yes to the new opportunities that come my way, and I push for those opportunities to be shared with other young advocates who show an interest and a talent for that type of work, whether that's providing direct peer support, public speaking, or teaching on topics where they have passion and lived experience. Just before the end of high school, I was diagnosed with PCOS, polycystic ovarian syndrome, a physical disorder that frequently increases and exacerbates mental health struggles. For me, it intensified what I was already struggling with. My first year of college was meant to be a joyous time, focused on learning, making friends, and preparing for my future. Instead, it turned into a hurricane of perfect timing and circumstances. My mental health issues, which had previously settled into a tolerable annoyance roared up to become unbearable. I left college after my first year feeling defeated and like I had ruined my chances of becoming a social worker or ever being in a supportive and helping role. I felt lost and like I no longer had something to work towards. After leaving college, I returned home, not only to my childhood home, but also to the organization where I spent a good amount of my high school years, Midshore Behavioral Health Systems. Midshore is a nonprofit organization that coordinates and monitors how behavioral health services are delivered across the region, especially providers who work with people using public insurance like Medicaid or who don't have health insurance. For folks who aren't familiar with the shore, the Eastern Shore is a diverse place with many different local cultures. The Upper Shore refers to Cecil County. The Midshore includes Kent, Caroline, and Queen Anne's, Talbot, and Dorchester counties, with towns like Denton, Chestertown, Cambridge, and Easton. The Lower Shore includes Somerset, Wacomico, and Worcester counties, with cities like Salisbury, Ocean City, and Crisfield. And if you don't know, we consider everything across the bay to be the Western Shore. It's all about your perspective. I had spent time at Midshore Behavioral Health as an intern, and prior to that, simply as the child of one of their staff, as my mother worked there for a good number of years. There was a job opening for a youth engagement specialist, and I was asked to apply by the executive director, Holly Ireland, who happened to be a family friend. Once in the job, I got to work, starting to network with various peoples and organizations throughout the mid and lower shore, and attempting to learn about what peer support truly was. For y'all who aren't familiar, peer support is when people with similar lived experiences come together in formal and informal settings to support each other through everyday life and moments of crisis. Peer support can look like going to a formal support group to talk about day-to-day struggles, or talking to a supporter in a moment of crisis to feel safe and cared for. A peer support specialist is not a therapist, but can go through a full training program and can earn a state certificate. Peer support specialist, also known as peer recovery specialist, can work in hospitals, outpatient clinics, mobile crisis teams, and also in independent community centers, like the 23 Wellness and Recovery Centers of the Honor of Maryland network, which are located all over the state. At Midshore, Holly supported me in learning the ropes of how a regional service system operates, and quickly became my sounding board and new mentor. Holly was a supporter of people following their passions and gave me the opportunity to do that for myself. First, by joining the Lower Shore's recently created LGBTQ coalition, and then by starting something new entirely. Part of my job at Midshore was to help run our local chapter of a national behavioral health advocacy organization called Youth Move, which stands for Motivating Others Through Voices of Experience. After spending my year in college in a larger city in Raleigh, North Carolina, I knew there were newer, braver opportunities for supporting LGBTQ youth that I could help create in my hometown. I went to Holly to ask if I could start a new Youth Move meeting specifically for LGBTQ youth in the Midshore area. She gave me the stamp of approval, and I was off. I held on to the memory of Miss Cunningham telling me when I was a senior in high school that she always saw me going off and building something new off the passion area of mine, and hearing that helped me believe that I could do it. I recruited youth to participate frequently by buying cupcakes or donuts to serve at our meeting times. And I learned how to facilitate dialogue and discussion groups, and just to be there in a supportive role. I saw young people supporting each other through coming out, forming relationships, or just being youth, and the conflicts that happened in their families and social circles. Having the chance to create for my community what I had needed as a high schooler was incredibly gratifying and gave me the first real taste of what turned into a lifelong love of grassroots community support. You never know how far someone's passion will lead them. 6 years after starting the project, I would become the president of the board of directors for Youth Move National, where I have gotten to see the widespread impact of my push for community-specific Youth Move chapter meetings based on the success of our Midshore group. Holly taught me how important it is to take the time to ask every person that I support or mentor what their passion is, and then finding a way to help them pursue that. It's something that the TAY project strives to do with all young people, whether that is encouraging a peer to submit their poetry work about their mental health struggles to an art collection project, or supporting a young person in taking their personal experience with eating disorders and creating new training for peers and providers with do's and don'ts for supporting people with similar experiences. Having someone say that your voice matters and that your passion is what powers advocacy is an incredible gift. Advocacy, like recovery, can be a really long journey of many small steps and many bumps in the road. And the person that showed me how to stay the course was my first supervisor at Honor Art of Maryland, Lauren Grimes, a woman who would become my mentor and one of my closest friends. Lauren had come to Midshore to provide technical assistance to our small team and to specifically talk about introducing the youth we were working with to advocacy opportunities. This fascinated me and was in many ways the missing link for my career. As much as I enjoyed providing one-on-one peer support, I always felt a calling towards tackling bigger issues. Hearing Lauren speak about how to advocate on a larger level is the reason I pushed my career in the direction of public policy and systems advocacy. After meeting Lauren, I set Honor Art of Maryland as my new goal. And 3 years later, I officially joined the team. As my supervisor, Lauren introduced me to a different element of mentorship, the cheerleader. I jokingly tell people that having a Lauren, someone who will think that you're a rock star, no matter what you do and just as you are, is a way to truly believe in yourself and come to love yourself as a person. Lauren's dedication and enthusiasm for peer-driven systems transformation opened my eyes to the myriad of ways that advocacy can impact someone's life, personally and professionally. Lauren always encouraged me to try new things and hyped me up to anyone who would listen. It's because of Lauren that I've had the chance to testify on bills about protecting children from sexual abuse in schools, to write a chapter on youth experiences and disclosure of suicidal ideation for a national medical research and practice publication, and to participate in conversation with other federal experts on how to have those conversations about suicidal ideation with youth and pediatric settings. Lauren's continual and energetic support led me to quite literally reach for the stars and achieve things that I never thought that I could accomplish. Things that I didn't set as goals because I didn't see them as options. My life has been filled with mentors who changed my life and helped me become the person I am today. And I am forever grateful for the impact that they had on my life. I hope that if you take anything out of my talk today, it's these three things. One, having someone who can acknowledge barriers, identify strengths, and help you see your own resilience in little and big ways can help a young person find hope and purpose in their struggles and prepare for the challenges that come with chasing your dreams as an adult. Two, having someone there to validate and encourage you to pursue your passions and who will actively create connections and opportunities for you to transform your interests into actions, can lead you into a career path where you truly love the way that you interact and uplift your community. Number 3, everyone needs a cheerleader. Having someone there to tell you how amazing you are can give you the strength to achieve those goals that you never thought possible. Every day at the TAY Project, we interact with young people who are experiencing behavioral health struggles and fighting stigma, which can be even more of a barrier than any symptom. The antidote to stigma is education and contact. Learning the facts about mental health and substance use recovery, and meeting other people who have lived experience and are doing well. As peers, as friends, as mentors, you can help make sure that a young person gets the understanding, the support, the resources, and most importantly, the hope that they need to stay resilient and succeed. We know, as you all know, that the pandemic has made pre-existing behavioral health struggles more challenging, and that many people are starting to have mental health or substance use needs that they never imagined they would experience. Here's a quote for you. Shortly after the pandemic began, more than 25% of high school students reported worsened emotional and cognitive health. This is according to a national survey. A CDC report indicated that emergency room visits for adolescent suicide attempts soared last summer. Another national report on data from October of 2020 showed that 31% of parents said their child's mental or emotional health was worse than before the pandemic. While the pandemic has created a lot of stress, anxiety, depression, and trauma, and worsened disparities when it comes to health equity, it also fostered hugely important conversations about mental health and well-being, and helped increase access to care in some really exciting ways. One important advocacy action that Honor of Maryland achieved during the 2021 legislative session was supporting a bill that would change the age of consent for mental health treatment from 16 to 12 years old, allowing more youth to seek immediate mental and emotional health support without first having to get approval from their parents or guardians, so long as the professional determines that they were mature and capable enough to give informed consent. Our TAY project staff provided crucial personal testimony about the importance of young people feeling safe to reach out for support from counselors or clinicians during a moment of crisis, which is especially important if their family dynamics or home situation were contributing to their mental health struggles. We are proud to report that this bill passed into law and will go into effect on October 1st, allowing more youth to seek out and receive care when they most need it. Another really transformational change on the horizon is that next summer, that's 2022, a new national emergency phone number, 988, will go live. Right now, many people call 911 when someone is in a behavioral health crisis, but that connects to fire, police, and EMT services, all of which currently get very different levels of training on how to de-escalate and support people in crises, especially folks who are living with the most serious forms of mental illness. We all have seen or heard of too many situations that ended in trauma or tragedy because the response to a crisis was inappropriate, inadequate, involuntary, and ended in harm because of misunderstanding or stigma, or was just too late. Starting in July of 2022, people will instead be able to call 988, which will connect to call centers with specially trained operators who can triage safety concerns, provide support over the phone, and dispatch trained mobile crisis teams, which is a team of clinicians and frequently a peer to meet with the person wherever they are and provide immediate support and assessment. By making the 988 crisis hotline much easier to remember, States expect the number of calls to the new hotline to increase significantly. For now, if you or someone that you are with is having a behavioral health crisis, there are many numbers that you can call or text. Please save them in your phone. You never know. They might help you save a life or support someone in need. We've shared a lot of information with you today. Please visit our website for a list of crisis numbers and behavioral health resources for young adults, to learn more about our many free trainings and our network of wellness and recovery centers across Maryland, and our advocacy work. If you can help connect us with young peers and fight stigma, we would love to send you materials to share or offer a workshop to your school, program, or your community. Just fill out the form on our website. Thank you all for everything that you are doing every day to support young people through such an incredibly difficult time in all of our lives. If you or someone you know are struggling with a behavioral health challenge, our peer community is filled with people who are ready to welcome and support you in your wellness and your journey. I hope you will join us. Thank you.